Hello class and welcome to this Mega Man 3 walkthrough right here on Video Games 101 by way of Let's Play with Brigands. And good lord, we just have to acknowledge how good this intro music is. I mean, is there any better intro music in just about anything? It's just, there were so many games on the NES that sounded like this. And then you have this. And it just kind of makes me wonder what other music composers thought, you know, when they heard this incredible track from Yasuoka Fujita, who did a lot of the music here in Mega Man 3, and then, you know, compared to what they were doing. And I get it, not every game calls for a sweet kind of lounge, jazzy piano intro, which explodes into Time to Save the World like this track does, but I digress. Welcome to this Mega Man 3 walkthrough right here on Video Games 101 by way of Let's Play with Brigands. As always, I'm your instructor, Professor Brigands, and this is my personal favorite of the Mega Man series, if I'm honest. I think it's the high watermark for a few reasons, which I'll talk about as we get into it. In terms of difficulty, this is still a Mega Man game. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the hardest, I'm going to give Mega Man 3 a 5 out of 10, which equates on the frustration scale to throwing your controller across the room. Probably if you fall into one of the many pits or hit the spikes in this game, but I think some elements are more difficult than Mega Man 2, kind of the recycled versions of the levels late in the game. But other elements are quite a bit easier, so we'll talk about that as we get into it. We have all our TAs standing by, we have the Briggs notes, we have the recommended boss order. Let's run the intro. First order of business is to identify the best Mega Man 3 boss order. This is just our personal recommendation. Different robots are weak against different shots, different weapons, so your mileage may vary, but this is what we recommend. This is what we're going to be teaching today. Incidentally, it's also the first Briggs note, which we'll talk about in just a second. But first, let's take a look at the controls for Mega Man 3. Pretty much the same as always, but with one notable exception. One new move being introduced. Holding down and hitting A allows you to slide left or right. I love this move. This is a lot of why I think this game is superior to Mega Man 2 personally. I just love sliding around. It's fun. You can avoid a lot of damage. You can whip through the levels a little bit quicker. And yeah, but everything else pretty straightforward. As we hear Proto Man's signature whistle, which precedes him every time he enters a room. Makes it difficult to sneak up on someone, I suppose. Give a surprise party. Or, I don't know, burglarize a house. I'm just trying to think of all the limitations. But yeah, just slide underneath Proto Man as he does that. Technically, he's training us there, but he can kill you if you're not careful. I do like the music on this level. I mean, I like a lot of the music in this game. And, speaking of the music, actually, Fluff was the same composer responsible for Mega Man 2 and 3?
So that would be a safe assumption, either because most of the music of the NES Mega Man games share a similar sonic quality, or just because you'd assume that Capcom would want to have the person who did Mega Man 2 to repeat for Mega Man 3 because it was so good. But no, they actually switched composers between the games. Actually, Harumi Fumita, who was tasked with doing the music for Mega Man 3, only finished 2 tracks, Needleman and Gemini Man's themes, before she went on leave to give birth. A relative newcomer to Capcom, Yasuaki Fujita then came in and did the bulk of the tracks and is given the composing credit, though Fumita was given a special thanks credit.
Thank you, Fluff. That's interesting to me. I always just kind of assumed they used the same person, but, you know, you'd think after you composed Bubble Man's theme in Mega Man 2, you would just have a open invitation to compose every subsequent Mega Man game's music for life. Really everything for life, but anyway, first boss, let's go to Gary.
It's Scary Gary's boss beater. Alright, Magnet Man. Now I want to preface this by saying that you can use a number of weapons effectively against a lot of these robots. This is just my preferred and recommended weapon list. So, having said that, let's move forward. And obviously, with Magnet Man, we don't have any weapons yet. If you started off with him, just use your Mega Buster. Move left to right, avoiding his magnets as he fires them. And then you can use the needles or his own magnets against him the second time, but slide beneath him when he does that second jump. He'll do a shallow jump and then a big jump. Slide beneath him on that second jump and just keep repeating that. You'll take him down.
All right, thank you very much, Gary. Got his work cut out for him today. Sometimes we're working Blaze hard, sometimes we're going to Gary. We try to, there we go, get that slide under the second jump, and there we go. Get a little sloppy. I usually play these games a little bit loose for most of them, because a lot of these games are relatively easy, with some exceptions. That's why I don't generally try to avoid a lot of damage, especially going through the levels themselves, but how good is this music right here? It's just so much better than it needs to be. Probably the best acquiring a weapon music in the entire series, if you ask me, but we move on to Hard Man next. Let's finally take a look at the Briggs notes for Mega Man 3. First, as we already mentioned, go in the correct boss order, or a correct boss order. I wouldn't say there's one definitive way to do this. This is, again, just the one that we recommend. And an extension of that, know the right guns to use on the different bosses. Later on in the game, they'll be introducing new bosses, so gotta know which guns to use. We'll explain each time, or Gary will, better said. Number 3, as always in a platformer, make sure you're centered around the pits so that, you know, Mega Man takes a little bit of knockback damage. Make sure you're not at the edge of any pits to get knocked over the edge. And finally, use the Rush Jet to make certain sections of this game quite a bit easier, or quicker, as the case may be. Typically, there's very few sections of this game where you actually need to use Rush Jet or Rush Coil or things like that. You're able to, you know, do the platforming, but it just makes it a little easier, go by a little bit more quickly and more safely, so don't be afraid to use it. So we got these, almost looks like a Woodman type area right here. These swinging monkeys. We got plenty of magnets, so don't worry about going through a little bit of it right here. You can actually get these shots off to hit this guy in the chest without taking one in the head, but it's got to be low enough. And I might refill my magnets right here. I like how quickly everything speeds up in this game, or refills. Like how quickly we climb ladders. Just everything just feels more efficient in this game. You get the slide, maneuver, obviously. This makes it a lot more fun. One of the reasons I call this the high water mark. You could argue that the charged up Mega Buster shot was a nice addition in the 4th game. But after that, there's not really much else that they needed to add to this game. You know, they were just kind of recycling the same formula. Which I know that's sort of always the case, everything after Mega Man 1, but yeah, certainly adding the slide was a nice addition, I would say. And you could argue this game has the best music out of the entire series, track for track at least. I know a lot of people are partial to Mega Man 2, and for good reason. I think Bubble Man alone is enough to put that game into consideration, but yeah, I just think track for track this, or even Mega Man 4 might take it, but let's go to Gary for his next boss beater on Hard Man. Gary?
Boss beater. Alright, Hard Man, really not that hard at all. It's a little strange that he can freeze you when you're in the air when he does his move. That kind of defies not just physics, but just video game logic. But anyway, use the magnet missile and try to get 2 hits in per transition. It's kind of hard to dodge and avoid his attacks, so just getting those extra shots in where you can is a good way of doing it.
Alright, thank you, Gary. And as we get our next power up, what do we get this time? The hard knuckle, just a darker shade of blue. I like that. Good colors on Mega Man. We're gonna move right along to Top Man now. Doing his little disco move, which is appropriate. A lot of his level looks like a disco. with the lights and everything. Not really sure. It just goes back to one of those fluff facts that we got in the last game, that they design all these levels ahead of time and then just kind of shoehorn the suggestions that people have for the actual robots themselves into the levels. So that's why you're like, well, I guess this is Top Man's level. Also could have been, Woodman's level. But that's fine. Let's take a look now. We've been picking up a lot of items. I know most fans of the Mega Man series know what most of these are, but let's go to our resident item expert just the same in Blaze. Blaze, tell us about the items of Mega Man.
Alright, let's talk about the basic items you will find in Mega Man 3. First, the Universal. We've seen them in all the Mega Man games so far. I guess they looked a little bit different in the first Mega Man, but we have the little health regenerative pickup, the circle there for 2 health. You have the big one, gives you back 10 meters of health. And then the same thing for the little weapon replenisher, and then the big one, which looks like a flashbulb to me, for 2 and 10 respectively for your weapons. And then we have the 1-up, pretty obvious, Mega Man's helmet, gives you an extra life. We have my item of the game, the E-Tank, the energy tank. Gives you full health on demand whenever you use one of these. You could stock a bunch of these up. Very useful for later points in the game. My item of the game. And then finally, the mystery canister. What could it be? Ooh, it's very exciting. It's usually crap. But there you go. Every now and then, you might get an E-Tank, might get a 1-up. Usually not. But there you are, the basic items in Mega Man 3.
Alright, thank you very much, Blaze. And let's go back to Gary now for the tips on Top Man.
Boss beaters. Alright, Top Man, this is another street fight. You want to use the hard knuckle and get as close to him as you can to get multiple shots in, kind of like we did with Hard Man. The idea is just to get these battles over more quickly by getting in more shots, and the hard knuckle is so slow you want to reduce the distance between when you launch it and when you hit him, so that's why I recommend staying next to him and maybe even getting in 2 shots per time he transitions left to right and back and forth. Good luck.
Alright, thank you very much, Gary. Excellent tips, proved to be the difference. And now we get the top spin, I want to call it. It's a nice little gray coat for Mega Man, a little gray and kind of a yellow with a little bit of green in there. Not the most flattering color, but it's different. We like that. On to Shadow Man. This is definitely one of those levels that they shoehorned in. After they had designed the level, they shoehorned in the robot. Alright, we got all these levels. Most of them make relative sense. And then we have this lava level. Because we're like, alright, so who's going to be the Heat Man of this particular level? Oh, Shadow Man. Oh. Okay. They make up for it by turning off the lights here in a little bit, but use the same techniques here on Proto Man. These are great tips, Proto Man. Hopefully, Dr. Wily and every boss that we fight from here on out just jumps around and doesn't actually shoot at ground level with us. Note the sarcasm. Alright, so these are the things which turn off the lights. It's kind of a twist on the Bright Man stage of the next game, Mega Man 4, where they have the things which turn out the lights, but if you shoot them, lights come back on. But they also have those little guys that if you shoot them, they emit some fireworks upon their explosive deaths, and that brings the lights back on as well. These things kind of look like a rehash of the end of Mega Man 2, actually, when they had that I don't know what you want to call it, just like a track, basically, for the alien, the final boss. Looked like a little disco ball or something that was moving around. But yeah, that was what that was like. Sometimes I like to tease these guys out. Taking a lot of damage right here just because, we got Gary. But these guys don't respawn as much once they come down, so blast them, retreat, then blast them, and then move forward. It's a good strategy right there if you don't want to take too much damage. And restock on some of these little dragonflies if you need to. And we're on to the next boss in Shadow Man, apparently. Gary, what do you got?
Boss beater. Right, Shadow Man. Use the top spin and just get up on him. from the start quick. Don't try to dodge any of his attacks or anything, because just by the nature of the weapon itself, we need to get up and take some damage and just keep holding up, hitting B, jumping, and just you'll take him down very quickly with the top spin.
Good look, Gary. You see how easy it was. We didn't have a whole lot of health coming into here, so only took 1 or 2 hits. Mega Man always looks kind of nauseous when he's receiving the next weapon, but we got Rush Marine. That's exciting. Hopefully it's not painful for him. Looks a little uneasy about the whole thing. As we move on to Spark Man. I just kind of put Spark Man and Shadow Man together for some reason in my mind. Maybe it's because you always play them back to back. Hey, shout out to my childhood friend Joe, who loved the music on this level, and this was his favorite robot. Everybody had a favorite robot of every game, didn't they? Leave yours in the comment, actually. I'd be curious to know what everyone's favorite evil robot from Mega Man 3 was. Coming up on a very dangerous, spiky section here, so just follow along, do what we do, as we're going to go back to Fluff now, who I think has a bit of a hack for us. Fluff, what do you got?
We have to credit one of our students in Rainfeather2997 for pointing out this tip to us, but it's actually possible to get the Rush Jet much earlier on in the game with this trick. Instead of waiting to take down Needle Man, which is when you would normally get it, much later in the game considering our recommended boss order, you can get it as soon as you take down Shadow Man. After you've defeated Shadow Man, wait until there's a weapon replenishing item on the screen, then bring up your weapon menu. Select Shadow Man's weapon, then push right to select the empty space where the Rush Jet should be. Go back to the game and collect that weapon replenisher, and just like that, it tricks the game into thinking you've already collected that ability. It will now be in your inventory for the remainder of the game. So if you want to start with Top Man, because he's relatively easy with the Mega Buster, then take down Shadow Man with the Top Spin, this is an easy way to unlock this useful ability early on, so you can avoid dangerous pits, spikes, and other obstacles through the majority of the game.
Thank you very much, Fluff. That is a great hack. We could have used that during the spiky section we just went through to make that a little safer, but we're going to refrain from any hacks. Well, that hack at least. Keep it fair, keep it fair. Here we want to bait out the enemies before they appear as often as possible. Scroll these baddies out right here. We can jump back, or we can just slide down between these to avoid the damage. Once again, staying in the middle of this platform. This guy is just all up on us right now. It's kind of a tough little stretch. As we're on to Spark Man now. I'm guessing I know what weapon to use, but let's go to the expert to be sure. Gary, are we good with this?
Alright, Spark Man. I love the Shadow Blade. We can direct it in the directions we want, diagonally up and down. So I like to stand next to that center platform just below it, and then direct our shots as necessary. If he's on the left or the right of us, we can always get hits in by directing those blades. It's very effective, and you'll take him down.
I thank you very much, Gary. It's sort of the poor man's Metal Blade from the last game, because it doesn't go across the entire screen, but you can still direct it in the directions you want, and it's sharp. Now we have the Spark Shock. And we are moving on to Snake Man. I'm sure there's mods out there to simulate these bosses fighting each other. You probably guess how a lot of these battles would go when you get one of the robots who has the weapon that's powerful against their opponent, but so it's a waste of time, really. It's just a glorified game of paper, rock, scissors, but that's fine. Take these little guys' heads off. Continue on. I like to get on one of these coils to get a little extra vertical and then jump at the peak of it. Not a difficult enemy, regardless. They're very generous with the health in this game. There's not even like a hard mode or a difficult like they had in Mega Man 2. Just power-ups aplenty. That's even if you don't pick up anything from the guys that you kill. Always like sliding under that guy's ball and chain that he hurls at us. We can go up this right ladder to see a couple of these mystery canisters that Blaze was talking about, and he was right, they're garbage. At least that time. Must be some percentages which dictate what you might end up getting. We'll save her to take him down from that left side. We have another one of these giant snake heads. Another one of those signatures of the Mega Man games, you know, they sort of mini bosses. Every now and then you get like, and it's usually the same number, you know, 2 or 3 per level. You get these special kind of mini bosses where you just have to fill them full of Mega Buster holes. It's starting to look like Man Stage now, actually. I always recommend that you jump when one of these things comes out. If you're kind of near the ledge, it has a tendency of kind of moving you ever so slightly once it comes out of the platform you're standing on, so sometimes it can inadvertently knock you off the side, so just something to be aware of. Sometimes you want to shoot these missiles when they're coming at you if you want to get them to commit to a certain track rather than floating around where they're much more dangerous, so a bit more predictable when you shoot him, get rid of that cloud cover, and time for Snake Man Gary.
Alright, Snake Man, once again we're going to use the Shadow Blade. You might think you need to use the Spark right there, but no, we're using the Shadow Blade, and it's the same exact strategy as we used on Spark Man. Just stay next to that center platform, direct your saw blades as necessary, take him down.
Yeah, you're right. The Spark did nothing. As it sounded like I called you Snake Man Gary right there, but which is kind of a cool nickname. I don't know, also maybe a little weird. The guy that hangs out in the bayou. Knows a lot about snakes. Not much about anything else. Not much about the ladies. Or maybe he does. I don't know. It could have another connotation. But I digress. The Shadow Blade, not quite as good, actually. I already mentioned doesn't go as far as the metal blade that we had in the last game, the saw blade, but we can't even direct it down unless we're jumping, so. Once again, a little uneasy about the whole thing. Search Snake. He was like Indy, he doesn't like snakes. Now on to Gemini Man, saving my favorite for last actually, just kind of works out that way. This was my brother's favorite robot, if memory serves. This is the other level, along with Needleman, that the original sound composer did, as Fluff explained to us, before they had to leave to deliver a baby. Kind of important. Good tracks, though. Be cool if we had... Wouldn't make any sense, but it would be cool if we had an alternate version soundtrack of this game if she had stayed on and done the entire game, but just want more vintage Mega Man music. Is that too much to ask? Just mind yourself around the pits with these guys. You see, we're not being too careful here. One shot will take these guys down. Guessing they were figuring this for some kind of moon-based enemy? I don't know. Just staring at us for a while until the silence becomes too uncomfortable and he explodes the whole thing. Go left there to get that 1-up if you'd like. A lot of times you'll find random power-ups in from these little sperm-like guys. They fooled me once with that mystery canister. I'm not going to waste any more time on that. While we're fighting our way through Snake Man Stage, let's say we go to Fluff for another Fluff fact about Mega Man 3. Fluff?
Eiji Inafune, the man behind the games of the Mega Man series, considers Mega Man 3 to be the most rushed, no pun intended, out of the entire series due to a number of issues during production and a relatively short timeline to get it done.
That's interesting to me, because I always considered, like I said, this to be the high watermark of the series.
Well, some evidence to support the idea that it was rushed might be that several debugging features were left in the game, and you can access them by holding certain buttons down on a second controller. Holding right will considerably increase the height of Mega Man's jumps, not to mention protect him from dying in pits. Holding up will slow down the game's animations, and holding A as well as up will pause them all together.
That's cool. Very interesting right there. You wouldn't know it from the final product right here that this game was rushed. Unless they meant to maybe have 8 bonus levels at the end instead of just the 4 that were going to, the repurposed levels. Or they jammed in, 2 repeat bosses from the last game each, but I don't know. Seems like it worked pretty well the way that they had it, so I'm not sure. It's interesting that they feel that way, though, considering Fluff explained to us in the class on Mega Man 2 that game was completely a labor of love, The higher-ups at Capcom didn't even want him to make it. The first game sold okay, but, it's just the team loved it so much that they went ahead and just kind of worked around other projects, whenever they had time. We might need to pop our first E-Tank right here before we take on Snake Man, actually. There's no shame in that. Let's pop this right now. I hope Gary doesn't take that as a vote of no confidence in his techniques right here, but let's go to Gary and find out how to take down Gemini Man.
That's right, Gemini Man. Use the search snake on Gemini Man. You want to get into a nice rhythm. He's going to move kind of left to right and get in that sequence. You want to shoot your snake, then jump over his clone and just keep this pattern up as he moves left to right. Eventually you'll take one clone down, then you'll take him down altogether. Good luck.
Alright, thank you very much, Gary. So we did take a little bit of damage there, so we blast off to the final level after we grab our Gemini laser. I like that ice blue shade of Mega Man right there. He rocks those alternate blue colors quite well, I have to say. Needle Man, my personal favorite. Love the music on this one. Let's just let it breathe for a little bit here. I feel like for this level, the boss could have been White Collar Man or something. We're in like a industrial part of town. But, yeah, sure, Needle Man. Why not? Like, just, squeeze in a couple needle-like enemies or obstacles midway through the level. Done. All good. Kind of reminds me of one of my favorite... Here's the needles. One of my favorite Mega Man just series themes, and series might be a stretch, but it's from Mega Man Soccer. It's the Woodman stage music in that game. Woodman of Mega Man 2 doesn't do that much for me, but got an E-Tank right there. Just use our rush to get up there. But yes, I definitely love the Woodman music from Mega Man Soccer. And kind of shades of this in there a little bit. That one's a bit more melancholic, if that's an okay term to use to describe a piece of video game music. I think it is. Especially one as good as that. That was a neat little trick that guy did. He did the motion like he was thrown to the right, but that ball clearly went to the left as we get to slide underneath that. Very satisfying when you get one of those off. Alright, let's go back to Gary for the tips on taking down Needle Man. Gary?
Oh, that's great. Needle Man. Use the Gemini laser. I recommend getting close to him and timing your shots well, because if you miss, it'll bounce off the walls, and you can't even switch out your weapon or pull out an E-Tank while that beam is bouncing around. So make sure your shots count, otherwise you could be hung out to dry while you're waiting for that to clear the screen. Good luck.
Alright, thank you very much, Gary, as we are now heading into sort of the back half, so to speak, of this Mega Man 3 walkthrough here on Video Games 101, as we acquire our final weapon, and Rush Jet, the final Briggs note, which we recommended, which we can use to our advantage on, as they ratchet up the difficulty here on the platforming, here in the back half, as they give us the rehashed, recycled, put in a blender. How many other ways can I put that? These versions of the 4 levels, which we have already played. Look at that, they got rid of the ladder. Training wheels are off at this point in the game, so we certainly had it. We can use the laser right here to take out that little guy. But we can use all of the skills which we acquired, or you hopefully acquired, over the course of that first half of the game on the normal levels to get through here. These little conveyor belt wheel things here aren't too difficult. They don't move too quick. You can see which way they're moving a little bit too, but generally just a good rule of thumb is to not be on any one of them too quickly, so you don't have to find out which way they are going. And speaking of recycling levels, let's talk about recycling bosses now. Gary, who we got?
Boss beater. Alright, we're getting old school. Already nostalgic, even in Mega Man 3, with the Mega Man 2 callbacks. I can't think of too many better games to reference than this one, so we go up against Metal Man first. Use the magnet missile, jump to avoid the gears. Honestly, you just watch my tape on the first Mega Man, or Mega Man 2 I should say, for the tips on a lot of these guys, but yeah. Now, we got new weapons, I'll show you how to do it. Keep going, good luck.
Alright, thank you very much, Gary. As you can see, we kind of faded to the left there in the spiked area. Little laser beam guys, they fire off at a regular pace, so gap accordingly. Sorry if you get knocked around a little bit here, it's not too big of a deal. They don't do too much damage on you. If you're feeling patient, you can take out those guys that spawn in and clear these as necessary. You'll notice they do not hurt you until they are fully formed, so for what that's worth. And now back for some more Dustman level antics here. We can slide through to make this a little bit easier. We can actually slide off of this one to clear that before we get crushed. And we're going back to Gary again. Gary?
Boss beater. Alright, quick man. Use the Surge Snake. Stay close to prioritize landing those shots. You can always also use the Gemini Beam, but the problem is Quick Man is very quick, true to his name, and if he avoids your attacks, they'll just keep bouncing off the walls and he'll get a lot of hits in on you, and once again, you can't replenish your health, so I like the Surge Snake. Get in close, it does a lot of damage. Good luck.
Alright, thank you, Gary. Certainly running him through the paces today. And let's go ahead, top right now. Who's it gonna be? As we take on Needleman's Bizarro Stage, Needleman After Hours. Not too much trickier this go around, I'll be honest. We can kind of pace our slide here to slide indefinitely. This part is very difficult to not take damage on. You have to hit that just right. So we pull out our rush coil here. You can use the rush jet if you're in need of a one-up at this stage in the game. Use it again here to grab this very easy to obtain E-tank. You can see we can save a little bit extra juice by jumping on and off. And we're at the midway boss. Let's see who we got this time with the throwback action. Gary?
Boss beaters. Alright, Airman, Spark Shot, and similar to my recommendations of how to take him down in Mega Man 2, I recommend getting close to Airman after he gets those 3 shots off. Just stay close once he jumps right to left, and just keep firing those shots in as his cyclones slowly clear the screen. You'll take him down before he gets too many shots off.
Good times, yeah, it's the same strategies as Mega Man 2. We're getting nostalgic for a class that we just had a few months ago. Actually, check that out again. We have a link in the description. Had a good time with that one, doing the Let's Meme It competition with myself and the TAs. I think Blaze had the winner. Deservedly so. Check that out. Or if you just want to know the tips on how to beat Mega Man 2, Playstar recommended tips. And you can gap these. It's very tight. Mega Man kind of ducks down just a little bit. They don't have an animation for it, you'll notice, but he gets down. You should have more than enough juice to get through here if you pick these up with your Rush Jet. Without worrying too badly, we can dismount here. We have to change away from it, you'll notice, before we'll come off of the Rush Jet. Slide here and top ourselves off again. Just keep moving on. I wonder where Wily comes up with the ideas for his robots. He just has like a word generator with tons and tons of nouns, and you just give me 2 nouns. Alright, foot, eye. And you got your walking eye. Bringing out all the guys. All the guys, those little Volter guys. Fun little trick is to use the Rush Jet to stay level with the weak spot on that mini boss right there. And I'm just getting lazy here. We're just casually riding through. Completely unnecessary, but you know what? I think we've earned ourselves the opportunity to put our robo feet up at this stage. Do this one more time. Very satisfying, I have to say. Cleaning them out that way. He's gonna roll, so let's just jump over him. I'm not gonna have a chance to shoot him in the conventional way. And who we got this time? Gary.
Boss beaters. Alright, Crash Man. Gotta use the hard knuckle once again. Get close because this is a slow weapon moving across, and he's a fast robot. That makes landing these shots very difficult unless you're right up on top of them. Good news is they're very effective, so you can stand to be that close to him, take a little damage on your part, but take him down very quickly.
Alright, good call. Yeah, 4 hits gets it done, and you'll see he recovers. His temporary invincibility wears up rather quickly there, so use that to our advantage. Let's head to Gemini Man Stage now. I think you can kind of guess, like even before I played this when I was a kid, after I started to catch on that they were recycling Mega Man 2 bosses. I probably lost my mind once I caught on to that. Probably the first time I saw any of the recycled bosses, I was just like, oh my goodness. This is amazing. Having loved Mega Man 2 as much as I did. Understandably so. But, yeah, nothing too tricky here with the rehashed enemies. They changed the color on those guys for the flame, that's about it. Nothing else different. Just mind the fire near the gaps. Dude, you could kind of guess, you could probably assume that for this kind of level, they were going to bring back in Bubble Man. He's going to make an appearance here. Nothing to the right, for what it's worth. You can go to the left to get that mystery canister. Usually just a disappointment, as Blaze was saying once again. And I'd like to slide through, but might have to just take out 2 rows in this case. Not the bottom row, mind you. That'll be a certain death if you happen to do that. Nice thing is it'll just fill itself back in if you move off screen for a moment, in case you did something you did not mean to do. Just come on back. Have another crack at it. And, speaking of which, who are we going to take another crack at for Mega Man 2 this time, Gary?
Boss beaters. Flash Man, use the needle cannon. Just jump and shoot, follow him around the screen. You'll take him down before you know it.
Yeah, he wasn't difficult in Mega Man 2, and he's not really difficult here. There's not a whole lot of strategy involved, just kind of parties on top of us a little bit. Just load him up with needles. And something tells me this is the one level after we got rocked, sadly, by Flashman, that they don't give us a replenishing circle of health. We just keep hitting these guys that drop out of the ceiling crack. Like we can use the Rush Marine right here, or we can use the Jet. The Jet is actually better than the Rush Marine because we can just, even if we're underwater when we first get on it, we can just float past this whole section without having to worry about being limited to the water itself, so. Still shoot the husks of those guys for some potential health back there. Anything from these guys? These guys are stingy with their power-ups. Alright. So clearly Water Man, Bubble Man. Gary, what do you got?
Boss beater. Right, Bubble Man, use the Shadow Blade. This works very well considering how slowly Bubble Man floats down after his jumps. Just direct those blades, get lots of hits in on him as he's floating around, taken down.
Yeah, how was there never a water mount in the early days? I think we can get through it without using an E-tank there. There we go. A little confidence. Yeah, how did they not start off with Water Man in the first Mega Man? Of the basic elements, you go to Cut Man before you go to Water Man. As we go to the final mystery stage here. This time Shadow Man's rehashed. Again, we were talking about this game being a little rushed. You almost wonder, and I guess I mentioned this already, but like, you know, had they had more time, were they planning on putting in rehashed versions of all the levels? Maybe not, because, you know, this worked just fine, and that seems like an awful lot of work, so just focus on tweaking 4 of them, put 2 of the rehashed bosses in each of them, and it's fine, and I'll stop thinking about it now, but this is another good place to use your Rush Jet if you don't feel like messing with these pits and all this nonsense. I like a bit of platforming, so you see we can get that thing to reset beneath our feet just with a jump, so otherwise that would have been nasty. Let's see who we got this time. One of them's gonna be Heat Man, but who we got first? Gary?
Boss beater. Right, Woodman, use the needle cannon. You can jump over the leaves and get like 3 to 4 hits in before he gets that shield back up again. It's really just prioritizing as many shots in between his leaf shields as possible. It's tough to make that jump over the leaf shield. Hopefully you have some practice after the last game doing it, but good luck. Use that needle cannon.
Alright. Good luck, Gary. And you can see, yeah, every level but that last one, they give us the replenishing heart, or circle right there. Not really sure what you want to call that, just the power circle. What the proper name of that is after all these games. We just know it as, you know, the circle that gives you health. I'm just burning through all my needles right now. Hopefully we won't need them on Heat Man. We have no bubbles, no Bubble Man weapon of which to work with. Hopefully that's not going to be a problem. Top off our needle cannon. And yeah, see who we got for the, well, we know who we got, but how do we take him down? Gary?
Boss beaters. Alright, Heat Man, use the top spin. You can get in close, and it's similar to when we used the same move against Spark Man before, but you just get all up on Heat Man with your top spin. Use it to take him down quickly. Don't be afraid to use an E-tank if you need to. Heat Man, not an easy out.
No, he's not. Yeah, we had to use our first E-tank on him, but thankfully we had quite a decent complement of them at this point in the game. And they're all busted now. We go to Break Man. Same strategy as before when we were fighting. Not much going on there. This is purely for plot. With his cutting-edge IBM computer of Dr. Light. After we received the last element, Wily ran off with Gamma. That's not good. But we get our classic Wily eyebrow-raising famous scene. There you go, hitting all of the beats in Mega Man 3. Already by the third game, it was like a love letter to the entire series. The game before it, all these tropes. I mean, Mega Man itself is one massive trope, basically, but that's okay. Everything after the first game. You could see we could have used some rushware, let's call it, to replenish or get ourselves an extra one up there at the start, but we're gonna go without it. Let's go to Fluff now that we're fighting our way through the first Wily level and get another Fluff fact about Mega Man 3. Fluff?
You know how much we love talking about the box art of these Mega Man games.
He looks like he's wondering, is it too late to go back to veterinary school?
But Dr. Light slapped him and through a slur-laced tirade said no robot of mine is going to veterinary school, and he made Rush Dog to shut him up instead.
Back to the European version. I've never anally probed something that big, but I'll try.
Mega Man 3 is the first game where most of the box art's depictions of Mega Man himself actually look like Mega Man.
Only took 3 full games to get it right.
Yeah. Still, it wouldn't be a Mega Man box art unless something was wrong with it. In this game's case, the colors of the 2 enemy robots on the North American release that are featured on the cover, Top Man and Spark Man, are both wrong. And if you ask me, Mega Man is enjoying shooting Spark Man in the crotch a little too much.
Also, I really hope that that's not Spark Man shooting Mega Man. It's a very different box art, or interpretation if you see it that way. But anyway, hey, another E-Tank for us. Make up for that one that we used earlier. I guess we already got one to replace that, but it should be mentioned that at this stage in the game for these Wily levels, moving forward, that we are not going to get our normal complimentary top-off of all of our weapons between stages. So manage your levels accordingly. We'll give you the tips on, which ones to prioritize as we start getting into one boss after another and deeper in that regard. But yeah, for right now, I just like to use my rush jet right here, assuming I don't get knocked off. We top off our... This should be the only thing we need to top off right now for the most part. Maybe some Hardman. We do need to use the Hardman weapon quite a bit on these bosses. But anyway, Gary?
Boss beaters. Alright, the Turtle Maker. Very easy battle. Use the Shadow Blade, which we can direct. Every time you fire one against one of these turtles, it takes them down with one hit. I think you only have to kill about 5 of them to take this boss down. Watch out for the little whirlpool, tornado, cyclone things under the water that'll push you around, but not too hard.
Thank you, Gary. Yeah, very satisfying boss, actually. Taking down those turtles with one hits with the Shadow Blade. So we move on to the second Wily level here, going straight up. Guess we don't have enough juice in the rush jet tank to just fly our way to the top. Good music here, by the way. Both Wily stages in this game are especially good. Yeah, I was thinking about Mega Man 4 recently, and the Cossack level musics are fantastic. And the Wily levels in particular, one of them is just one of my favorite NES pieces of all time, which we'll talk about that once we get to that class, but yeah, it still blows my mind that they were going with different composers for every single game through, I think even including 5, but I don't know, we'll check back in at the time, but just, I don't know. It's hard to argue with the results. Again, you would say, hey, Bubble Man was amazing, everything about Mega Man 2's music was fantastic, but sure, let's bring in some fresh blood, which they were going to do either way, but Mega Man 1 boss, Gary.
Boss beater.
Alright, the Yellow Devil. Round 2 with him this time. Use the hard knuckle, and then just be aware he's gonna come in left to right at the start. That's the hardest part, because you can't see them coming in ahead of time. You can jump over the bottom ones, slide underneath all of the rest, or the ones that are just above the ground. You don't have to worry about the others, obviously. And just prioritize timing, lining up your shots. He's going to get some shots off during that phase, so be careful. But you want to get this battle over quickly so that you don't have to avoid his pieces, his puzzle pieces too many times. Good luck.
All right, thank you, Gary. Yeah, we can't use the Elect Man and the pause trick that we could kind of spam in the first Mega Man game. He's pretty tricky, actually, with that transition. I can see why Gary recommends we try to take him down as quickly as possible, get multiple hits in each transition, because, yeah, each one of those hits does a decent amount of damage to us. But, yeah, speaking of just... that was just a fun mechanic to spam, to hack, what have you. I don't think I'm going to get in 2 hits. Of course, he would have to be weak against the slowest weapon in the game, but just time that up. What I would do for Electman's his little electric beam at this stage against him. Yeah, this is a good piece of music right here as well. See if we can get a couple refills on the right side if we go for that. We're not really hurting for anything at this stage. Just gonna pass up that E-Tank, by the way. Unless you're going for some world record time, I suppose, on this game, but come on. It's just one slide away. How lazy can you be? A few more splies if we go down and to the right. In this case, we're just going to go over and drop down. Just slide under that big boy every now and then. Sometimes I don't hit him. There we go. Yeah, sometimes he hits me. I like this. Probably because it's just super easy, but it's just fun platforming. Yeah, I enjoy that. And we got a couple mystery containers up there. All right, I'll bite. Let's head on up. Use the hard man fist, the knuckle. Let's see what we got here. A little health and a 1-up. All right, well, whatever. All right, Gary.
Boss beaters.
The holograms. This is where we love Turbo and the Mega Buster. I like to alternate between the medium and bottom tiers. We can dodge some bullets easily this way, relatively easily, but also figure out where between the two the real clone might be. Once you find it, just lay into him, keep firing, you'll take him down before you know it. Very satisfying.
Certainly is. Thank you very much, Gary. Anytime we can exploit a lack of invincibility frames. I want to mention, Gary showed that as part of the tips. You can also use the top spin very quickly to, if you're fast enough to jump to the very top layer where it's always real at the start of the battle and take him out that way, but also fun to just lay into him with the Mega Buster, as mentioned. One last stage here. I think this is the boss rush stage, actually. Just top off the knuckle at this point as best we can. Thankfully, our just this one-off guy right here, doing his best Guts Man impression, apparently. We can top off everything at this point. Really no reason to worry about anything. We need to use the rush, the coil a little bit in the final stage, but we're not going to need the final boss fight, but we're not going to need it all that much. So, I suppose you could get away with using the rush jet as well. Note there's an extra one over here on the right that warps in. It's difficult to avoid his Gutsman-like throws, but nice little slide. Defying the laws of physics right there. Dr. W. Classic logo. Alright, let's just start taking these guys down again. Same weapons. I really am just trying to remember what Gary recommended at this point. We're obviously not going to bring it back in for a boss rush. He may quit on the spot if we did that to him. Just want to really give a huge thanks again. Give him some extra credit for a game like this where we're basically calling on him, every 2-3 minutes. So a big thanks to Gary. And let's go to another one of our TAs now that we're on autopilot here. Get one more Fluff fact.
Mega Man 3 sees the first appearance of Mega Man's trusty canine companion Rush. This robot's best friend's design is based loosely on Friender, the support unit of Neo-Human Casern, a popular Japanese manga in the 70s. Friender transforms into a jet and a submarine just like Rush. Now speaking of Rush, he was originally designed to have one more capability in the Rush drill in Mega Man 3. But they nixed the idea when they decided it would allow players to skip through 2 large chunks of levels using it.
Thank you, Fluff. That's interesting. You can kind of see the resemblance. Of course, they would bring back the drill concept at least. Maybe salvage it in Mega Man 4 with Drill Man, possibly. Still think it's a bit cheap that being in midair, he's still freezing us with the impact of him on the ground, but I'll let it go. Top Man, going back to that hard knuckle. Try to not use too many of these here, as this is a valuable weapon in the final stretch. Last couple bosses, original bosses. Shadow Man, apparently. Would still call him Ninja Star Man or something like that. I think we can use the Top Man weapon for something else later, but we have other alternatives to that, so don't worry if you've tapped that out right there. Same strategy, which is not a whole lot of strategy right there. Just pump him full of the Shadow Man, the Shadow Blades. And they alternate between these games with, we go back to the needles here for Snake Man. Another one of those robots you could start off, wouldn't be a bad first choice if you were going to fight him that way, but, yeah, some of the, after the boss rushes, sometimes they would add in that extra teleportation thing in the middle. In this case, they just open this gate to the right for us. So at this stage, we recommend topping off your Hard Man. Grab your extra life right there. And at this stage, probably definitely gonna need some sparks. It's mostly the Hard Man from here on out, and we'll have a chance to replenish a few more right here on this screen. Mostly want the Hard Man at this point. That's going to be all that you might be low on at this stage that you actually need. But anyway, Gary, who we got?
Boss beaters. Right, Wily Machine, jump and use the 4 quick sparks on that turret. Just 4 times to take him down. And then in that second phase, you want to jump and use that hard knuckle, but you really got to focus on the timing. This is still a very slow-moving weapon, so time it so that, when that dip comes down, you're going to get that knuckle in on Wily's bubble. But 4 shots will get it done, and then you can slide between the middle bit once it reaches the middle to transition from one side to the other. That's the technique. Good luck.
Thank you, Gary. And as he showed in the note there, you can also just use the Shadow Blade the whole time from underneath if you're quick enough. You can also take Rush Jet if you do want to use the hard knuckle, just to give yourself a little more lift. Switch to it and then fire off. Alright, so we won, right? Wily finally killed. There will be no Mega Man 4. There he is, begging for mercy in the what the? Might want to check the reaction speed next time you go in for a tune-up there, Mega Man. It's a good second or two before he popped back. Thinking that ain't right. But anyway, you can top off whatever moves you need at this point, we recommend.
Boss beaters.
Alright, Gamma, the final boss in Mega Man 3 has 2 phases. First, use Rush to get on that top right platform, and then launch 4 hard knuckles. You'll get to the second phase very quickly. At this point, pull out that search snake, get at the very tip of that platform, jump and move a bit to the left, and fire off as many of these search snakes as you can. There's no temporary invincibility when each one of these lands, so if you get a lot of these off, you can take them down in probably 2 jumps to very quickly and effectively, efficiently take down Gamma, and with it, beat Mega Man 3. Congratulations, well done.
Thank you very much, Gary. Excellent work today. Just to show you the alternate method, Shadow Blade from the ground, and then switch to Top Man as you get up there, and then you can really do it in one pass if you're fast enough. There you go. Just shoot him right now, Mega Man. I say this every class. We do one of these games, and he has him right here at his mercy. Just shoot. I guess that'll do. Oh no. Mysterious, shadowy figure. Who could that be, class? Think I have an idea. Ridiculous computer. There's that trademark whistle again. It's the giveaway, I'm telling you. Yeah. I don't know why you programmed that in the Proto Man, but I'm not going to second guess Dr. Light. Seems like a nice man, and I love this music, so I'll be quiet now. It's the full nostalgia package, really. It really is a love letter to the entire series to this point, and it's only the 3rd game in. Each game coming out like a year or 2 in between one another. Rock and roll. Or Mega Man and roll, but you know. And then Proto Man, prototype, brother of Mega Man, infinitely cooler than Mega Man. It's like, come on, how do you go from the prototype to no disrespect to Mega Man, but anyway. Kind of see Wily's pod on the top of that tree. I'm not really sure how the perspective is there, but yeah, it's just, you know, I feel like you nailed it with Proto Man, and he just seems a lot more powerful than us. Can we play as Proto Man in the next game? I know it's a no, but just thought I'd ask. 30-some years after the game came out, but I digress. That is our class on Mega Man 3, our Mega Man 3 walkthrough. Thank you so much for attending. Let us know, again, what's your favorite piece of music from this game? Who was your favorite robot from this game? Let us know if you had ever had any trouble with it, playing it, growing up, or more recently. Hopefully, if you played it more recently or you're playing it now, you'll have no trouble. Bun Bun. They never give the actual names, but that's fine. We know who's responsible for this excellent soundtrack. But please remember to leave a like on this video. It really does help us out. And most importantly, if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to enroll in this class. It really does mean a lot to us. We would love to have you each and every week. We do one of these classes every week. And we will see you next week for next week's class in the exact same spot. Thank you so much for attending. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and comment on this video, and click subscribe if you haven't already, as this seriously helps me to keep making great content for you. And check the description of this video to see what song is playing right now.